4-mile racetrack in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, known as Road America, plays host to this round number 6 of the classic Indycar series on RaceSpotTV. Happy Saturday, people. Our coverage will start in just 1 moment's time.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. It's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and every year I've come here, this being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race, so it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads. So when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Road America. Welcome to Elkhart Lake for round number 6 of the classic IndyCar series on RaceSpotTV. We bring out the Dallara IL05 and we send it racing for 2 hours around some of the world's greatest racetracks. Wilmington along with Rachel Whiteford here. We have literally got drivers heading themselves to the starting grid now. Here is a look at your starting grid with Tim Bertie starting on pole position. Qualifying time 1 minute 45.472. Christian Viazult line up alongside him on the front row of the grid. Daniel Benefield in third inside row number 2. Dennis Correes alongside him on that second row of the grid. Then you got yourself Robert Grosser in P number 5. P6 is Leon Rudnia with Lucas Seville in 7th, and then Alexandro Daglione in the 8th position. P number 9, John Elmsweiler. P10, Tim Miller with Morris Rishma, Frank Joseph Stern, Christian Mansoum, Paul Morris, Eric Hunter, and Benjamin Elton rounding out your top 8 rows. And you can see at the rear of the field, Lucas Dintino in P number 17, and then Nigel Money bringing up the rear in P number 18. No qualifying time was set by him. There's a look then up above here at Road America. Your drivers now just getting themselves to the point of being ready to go racing in about 50 seconds time. For more information about RaceSpotTV, head over to www.racespot.tv. And of course, if you'd like to hear any more news and information about the Classic IndyCar series, head over to the iRacing forums. We'll be back in literally 10 seconds. So then, ladies and gentlemen, the cars are lined up on the starting grid. All but two are already down there, waiting for Christian Villasult and Daniel Benefield to get themselves down. They've only got themselves about 10 seconds to do that. Otherwise, they'll be forced to start from pit road. There's one now, just waiting for Benefield. There he is on the grid as well. That means we are set to go racing here at Road America. And we are officially underway then. So here we go, 100 minutes worth of racing against the clock here at Road America. Cars storming down in towards that first corner for the first time. A little bit of two-wide racing down in your pack. They're almost three-wide there, down in the middle portion. But Rachel, through turn number 1 and 2, they've got to be careful through here. We've got one car off there on the inside of the corner. He's going to have to be very careful rejoining. That is John Elswinner there, all the way down in P number 18 now.
It is indeed. He had a pretty bad start, Will. He got that car to the inside and I think chose to go up the grass rather than potentially run into the back of a car there. So that was a bit of a save, but really bad start for Robert Grosser in the number 3 machine. That car did not get off the line very well in that Team Penske Honda. Real slow start, so he's lost a couple of positions already.
Running along board with Christian Villasult started this race in P2, running himself in P number 2. We have got all drivers circulating for the time being on the racetrack. Side by side though, Leon Rugner and Robert Grosser. This is a battle for P number 5, P6. We look on board then with the driver of Grosser as they head themselves down in toward the exit of the high downs, now into this long sweeping carousel. From here, Rachel, it's flat out all the way down to Canada Corner, but this corner is tricky.
Certainly is. Canada Corner, one of the most difficult tracks on the corners on the circuit, actually. Really high speed entry, slow speed through it, and these cars will definitely have to be lifting at their king because we arrived through the carousel now. And I was actually watching back at the incident we had earlier, but Canada Corner, very tricky. Make sure you keep it that low to the apex there and get a good drive off. It can certainly spit drivers onto that apex gravel.
Yeah, out front, Tim Bertie, 1 second advantage right now over Christian Villasult. You have to keep an eye out on the lap times. It's a very long lap here at Road America, and that means that we could well end up with some drama towards the end of the race with drivers having to do a little bit of fuel saving. But there, you see, that is what 1.1 seconds is as you're heading yourself down in towards turn number 1 at Road America. It's Bertie who leads away for the time being, then Salt in second. Third place is Daniel Benefield. Fourth place, Dennis Clarice. Running out the top 5 is Leon Ruddinger, as we have still got a nice little battle going on between Ruddinger, Grosser and Lucas Laville, as they head themselves now down in towards turn 2 once again. Here's a look on board with Robert Grosser, and let's have a look at the speed that he's doing then on the exit of the corner. Now as he comes down towards turn 5, you see he's got a much better run this time compared to running out. That's going to give himself the chance to look down to the inside as they come down into the corner, and that looks as though that's going to be a nice, clean, simple pass, Rachel. Down to the inside goes the number 3 machine, and we're actually also going to get ourselves Lucas Laville potentially looking down to the inside as well.
Yeah, textbook pass into turn 5 there for Robert Grosser, and Laville behind, trying to make that move stick. Not quite able to get it done, so he'll have to wait and try again, although he is under attack now from Alessandro Delani.
Yep, as behind we've got ourselves Maurice Ridgemark, who's just had himself a bit of a moment on the racetrack. He's falling down timing screens just a little bit. But we've got now that battle going on. The number 96 car putting pressure on Lucas Laville as they circulate down through the carousel once again. There is the speed. Pretty much flat out there for Danadon as they come down in towards Canada. Lap number 2 of this race. Got that ticker running along the top of your screen. Half a second between P7 and P8. And this mid-pack we expect to be very tight throughout the course of this event. Having a little bit of a look further down though, Rachel, you've got yourself Nigel Marneef right now with Benjamin Nilsson right behind him. About 2 tenths per second will separate them as they came down into Canada last time by.
Yeah, got to keep an eye there on Nigel Marneef, of course. Well, he started P18 and last. He did not get a qualifying time in, so starting from the back of the grid up to P15 already, and he's making his way towards those cars in front of him. Expect him to potentially be able to pick off quite a number of places in these early laps.
You can see up 7 places since the drop of the green flag here. Last lap time 1:49.790. Now that was only the 11th fastest lap of the race so far, but let's not forget, when you're running across traffic, that is going to always be slower than when you're just running by yourself, especially at a track that is as narrow as this to try and make up those positions. Daniel Benefield onto the rear now of Christian Villasult as they come down underneath the Corvette bridge. And what a good start to this race by Daniel Benefield, Rachel, of course. Running it in the RaceSpotTV Grand Prix series at the moment. attempting to get himself the fabled black stripe to run in the 2015 Pro Series of Road Racing.
He is indeed, and that would be a great thing to see him up there, of course, previous commentator on the series, so would be great to see him on the track.
Exit of the carousel, then down towards the carousel they come once again as they work themselves now single file for your first 5 drivers. You've got Galadone still putting the pressure on Lucas DeVille, as you can see, as they work themselves pretty much nose to tail exit of the carousel, but Galadone's not going to be able to do anything. Actually loses a couple of tenths per second as they come down into Canada corner. Part of the reason for that one is, well, you've got so much dirty air and you are pretty much flat out for the corner. Sometimes you get too much of that turbulence and it is only going to push your car just to the outside. And if you touch the curbs, well, your race is pretty much over in a spectacular fashion. Marneef is now past the driver of Benjamin Nelson, actually closing up to the rear of Juan Joseph Sturm as they come up the hill, Rachel. 4 tenths per second between P number 10 and Nigel Marneef. That will be a total of 8 places gained as he crosses the start-finish line.
It will, and he's going to be going for a few more, I suspect. That car incredibly fast with Marneef at the wheel. Really talented driver, especially on the road courses. That Magna's Irish cider car looking spectacular at Road America because it forces its way through the traffic, and we can expect to see him in that top 10 very shortly.
Yeah, exit. He comes off turn number 2. He's now into the top 10 as he's just made himself past Franz Josef Sturm. So that is Nigel Marneef now solidly into the top 10, but not over yet. He's got himself Tim Miller, as we just got ourselves Daniel Benefield has got himself past Christian Diaz. We'll get ourselves another look at that one. But Benefield has moved himself now up into P number 2.
He has indeed a good pass there by Benefield. Really tactical driving from him, making sure his lines are consistent and smooth. Incredibly good positioning, and wow, took Zook very easily, and he go after Bertie in the lead.
Working themselves now up. This is a replay then as they work themselves side by side, and you can see that Theo Sorge just losing that spot to Daniel Benefield. Exit of turn 5 into turn number 6. Number 22 machine now is down into the 3rd place on track. As actually Dennis Grease is coming into play as well. Grease last lap time was a 138.342, about 4 tenths per second faster than these 2 guys ahead of him, and the fact that those 2 are squabbling through 5 and 6 means that Grease is right there now in the picture. John Elmsworth, we talked about him earlier on. We saw that he was struggling. He has fallen down a total of 8 places since this race started. We saw him on the inside of turn number 1, all the way on the grass, didn't want to run into anyone. He has got the car going. He is still going. We don't know if he's got any damage to this car, but his last lap was a 150.532. Works himself up the hill as he has actually got himself Morris Arunzo right behind him, as Nigel Marneef has just been able to get himself past Tim Miller away from our shot as well. So now we've got ourselves Nigel Marneef up another spot, and this was made on the run down in towards turn number 1. Marneef now into P number 8, Miller down into 9th, and Juan Jose Sturm is in the 10th place for the time being. We have got all drivers circulating. One driver, Rachel, has made himself a pit stop. That is Lucas Pinstano, and that was 7.4 second stop he did.
Yeah, a very long stop there from him, and well, hopefully, probably for damage, maybe slid the tyres, so a bit early to making a sanctioned stop there, Will.
It is indeed, as Lucas Tanzino, you can see the Marlboro car heading himself up the hill, down in towards 1 they come once again. But let's have a look at this ongoing battle for P number 2, 3 and 4. Last time by 148.5 for Daniel Benefield, 149.2 for Christian Versalt, and a 148.302 for Dennis Grease. Grease is clearly the fastest of these 3 drivers right now, but they are all losing time to Tim Burton, who's the only driver into the 147. In fact, he's the only driver to have got a 1 minute 47 and a 146 lap time. Bertie is just absolutely incredible out front right now. But on the exit then of the final corner they come, Bill Mitchell Bend into the final corner. We're going to ride ourselves a lap on board with Dennis Grease in the number 16 machine. eagle-eyed amongst you would just notice there that there was a little bit of damage that was just happened to Dennis Garis's car. We're just going to try and see if we can highlight one up for you. It doesn't look as if we can, so we'll just have to actually, there we are. This is down, say, a couple of moments ago. We would have noticed that this part of the wing, right about there, has got itself damaged. We'll just try and get ourselves a replay and show you the reason why and what happened. And Rachel, it was always a thing that you could have happen in these old cars. As we're just going to roll our tape from here. This is down in towards Canada Corner. It was actually on the exit of Bill Mitchell Bend that it happened. But it was always very easy in these old cars to ding a wing or heel there. And, well, for Dennis Garis, it looks as though that he's going to have a couple of handling issues now the rest of this stint.
Well, I'm not sure if he is or not, Will, and just got to step beyond that fourth wall of the commentary booth. It was kind of mid to exit the corner, and the wing just seemed to crinkle itself on perfectly smooth tarmac. So it could be a simply visual thing for us, could be actual damage. I'm sure we'll find out from his lap times.
Well, let's have a look. His last lap time was a 1:48.546. Tim Bertie, however, still leading the way. The gap, Rachel, already 9 seconds on the track.
Yeah, great lead for him already, and just pulling away consistently, putting in those lap times he needs. Clean air, very important for him as well. Car behind him, Daniel Benefield, also now has clean air, but he's under threat from behind from Thilo Zook, and just has to keep that car in good, clean condition, otherwise major problems.
Yeah, and Benefield, of course, has moved himself up into that second place. We're not having an interview with Daniel Benefield, that's the wrong button, but he's at one place from where he started. There's a look from the rear of him in the Apex Racing cars. He storms himself back down in towards that first corner. You can see just behind is the number 22 machine, Christian Theodorus. Is actually going to look himself potentially down to the inside. No, not yet. Well, 1 hour 27 minutes remaining. It's a timed race here, Rachel. I did actually, we'll come back to that point in a moment's time. But there is a look from the rear of Daniel Benefield. As well, down in your pack, you've got yourself Alexandro Danadone battling it out with Lucas Laville. The gap is half a second, and actually, both those drivers running off the curb a little bit on the exit of turn number 2. They worked themselves through 3 into 4 and 5. And this is a scrap that's been going on for a good couple of laps now. Lucas Laville has had himself a bit of a slow start to this event. You can see Danadone trying to force his way down to the inside into turn number 5, not able to do so, and they remain nose to tail as they work themselves now through turn number 6, as Danadone's actually closed that gap even through the hurry down. Let's go back on board of him. Will he try and sling it down the inside? As he's actually going to think about looking it down to the inside, and he's going to overshoot the corner as a consequence. But Danadone really putting that pressure right now over Lucas Laville as these two drivers continue to scrap it out for P number 6 and 7. Behind, you got yourself Paul Morris battling it out with Christian Mansoon for P11 and 12, and also John Ellsworth and Morris Ridgma back at the rear end of your field. But let's go back then to this battle. P number 2, 3 and 4. Dennis Garis is at the rear of this one. He has caught the two drivers ahead of him of Benefield and Theo Zulk. Has not yet, however, found a way to potentially go past. His last lap time, 1:48.600, exactly the same as those two drivers ahead of him. Up the hill they come, underneath the Caterpillar Bridge to put another lap in the books. This is now lap number 8, and Danadone, issue for him, stuck on the racetrack. Bill Mitchell Bend. Something's happened to Alexandra Danadone. Replay coming up on your screen. Well, actually, this is where we left Danadone at the point that he was about to make that pass. So, let's have a look and figure out what happened to him. This is through the Speedfield Bridge. We know it's actually down at Bill Mitchell Bend that the issue for Alexandra was. So, we'll just stick it on board of him for the time being. Go back, figure out exactly what the issue was. But it does seem to be that he did give himself a bit of a push through the kink. And it'll be the exit Canada corner. You just work yourself up the slight little incline to the left. That is what is called Bill Mitchell Bend. It's the second to last corner on the racetrack. And, well, here we can see no issues through Canada corner. But then they come through Bill Mitchell Bend. Is it a white line incident here? Oh, no. He just slows it all the way down. Literally to a grinding halt. Someone almost tagged him. That was Nigel Marneath who almost tagged him. Now, Danadone has been able to get back going again. But a very bad place to stop that car. Middle of the racetrack there, down at Bill Mitchell Bend. Gets the car back going again into the final corner. You see two drivers putting pressure on him. That was Christian Manson, actually, who was there in at that mix as well. Bit of a crazy one, but we are still green. Everyone is still circulating here. As Theodort is still putting pressure on Benefield. Grease is still putting pressure on Christian Theodort as they exit Bill Mitchell Bend again. And also, rear end of your field, you've got yourself the driver of Leon Rutner and Benjamin Nelson. They are scrapping it out down at the rear end of your field. In fact, Nelson thinking about looking down to the inside in the mid-south car, not able to do it initially as they work themselves up the hill into 6th, though. There might be the chance, and no, Nelson will have to stay in line for the moment. Here we are, we're just having a look now at Tim Miller versus Nigel Marneve. No, we're not actually looking at Nigel Marneve versus Lucas Laville. So another driver trying to put pressure on Lucas Laville for the time being. So you can see Nigel Marneve just working himself in the exit of turn number 2, now down towards 5. The number 69 Magnus car, well, is about 6 tenths of a second back. His last lap time, a 1:48.282. So just have a look there. That comparison to his fastest lap of the race, only 2 tenths of a second off. And Rachel had some big moves in the race, but none bigger than Nigel Marneve.
Absolutely not. Of course, we know he didn't qualify, so that car was way out of position. We didn't really see where he would be at Road America. Clearly, he's had enough time to practice because that car is fast. And wow, P7 already from P18. That's 11 places gained. Biggest mover in the field, and it could only improve.
There we are. As we've also got just behind them, Tim Miller and Francois of Sturm now scrapping it out for positions. There you can see the gap. About 8 tenths per second between Tim Miller in P number 8 and Francois of Sturm in 9th. Sturm is a driver for Vortex Sim Racing. Tim Miller, we officially know of him in the IndyCar community as the last of the true independents. Still runs by himself. He's run by himself for as long as I've been on iRacing, Rachel, which is coming up to 5 years this Christmas. But Miller, he's very happy to run by himself. He knows he's not always going to be the fastest driver, but his commitment, you always see him improving every single time we see him on RaceSpotTV, getting closer and closer to the front. But his commitment is second to none.
It is indeed, and running as an independent in these cars, the old car, the new DW12 cars, of course, big challenge. The setup of these vehicles is so complex, and without the strength of a team behind him, that's an incredible achievement. So, great running from him, and just impressive to see exactly what he can do on his own.
Gonna drive on pit road. You can see it's the Marlboro car. He has had himself an issue. Let's have a look, see if we can figure out. We've got the back end of it, so we're just gonna try and get this one up for you now. Yeah, it is the Martini Marlboro car of Lucas Stinzano in the number 57 car. Rachel has looped it, it's binned it, is out of the race.
He is indeed, and not a great end to the race for him, of course. He's scored one up down, that car is definitely destroyed, and well, that Marlboro machine is looking far the worse for wear as he came down, actually, I believe it was
Turn 5.
running down towards turn number 5. Bottom corner there, just locks up under braking. I think he had a wheel on the curb on the outside of the corner. Well, bing bang bosh, game over.
There we are. The unique looking car. Martini and Marlboro, I think you got the perfect package there, Rachel.
It is indeed. Probably exactly what we need. There's some Geico on there as well, so we all love geckos.
Indeed so. As you can see, the Christian the Assault battle continues. Daniel Benefield just 3 tenths of a second up the road as well. We've got 20 minutes into the books now of this race, Rachel, and that means that we are going to start seeing some strategy come into play within the next 20 minutes or so. Now, drivers, by my watch, are going to have to make 2 pit stops here. It's a time that they make these pit stops. That is going to be the critical factor more than anything else, because I think if you can get yourself some clean track around here, you can make yourself a lot of time. Dennis Carisse is struggling right now, and he's actually been caught back up by Robert Grosser because he has not been able to find a way past Theo Salt or Benefield.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's going to have to do something if he wants to make any sort of progression here. Benefield, they're running very good laps, 48.5 last time round. Tim Bertie, 47.5. Wow, a whole second faster than P2 there. P3 was a little bit faster, but this dirty air from the old IRO5 chassis really causing some dirty air behind the car of Benefield, so that's making it very difficult there for Christian Thilo Zook to actually get through, as though big lockup and mistake from Daniel Benefield, unable to capitalise as Thilo Zook so he will stay behind him, but those tyres are going to be a little bit warm now on Benefield's machine.
Yeah, there we are. So, P number 3 is the results. We'll just get the top 8 bottom of your screen right now. I think the thing we need to talk about, Rachel, is Tim Bertie out front. Now, he is a driver who not many people necessarily know yet. Come this fall, they will get to know him, as he is one of the many looking to try and find himself a golden ticket to the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series. And that means, of course, that number 77 car has to first go through the Pro Series of road racing. Well, he's going to get used to big, long races by running this series, Rachel.
He is. This race, of course, 1 hour and 40 minutes in length, so almost exactly the same sort of length we expect as a Pro Series race / DWC race. So, good example of that for him. Probably looking at maybe 2 stops in this car, Will?
Yeah. I'm thinking that you're looking for 2 stops in this race overall. It's going to be an interesting one, because actually we've got one car coming on towards pit road. That is Robert Grosser right now. So Grosser's on pit road. That's not even half this race, half an hour of this race scored complete, Rachel. Just 20 minutes. So Grosser, I think he's figured out the fact that there's so much time being lost in that front pack right now. As Benefield and Theo Zoltz are going side by side as they head themselves down in towards turn number 5. Let's show you that one. Benefield has lost P number 2, but will he get it back? We go on board with him all the way to the outside there, almost being pushed to the grass. But Benefield, Theo Zoltz, while this battle is getting more interesting by the second, Benefield's going to try and go the fast way around into turn number 5. Not going to be able to do it. Will he try to cut under? He's done this before. This is where he got the position last time by. This time, Zoltz is more aware of it, and they are pretty close. But Daniel Benefield now down into P number 3, up into P number 2 is Christian Theo Zoltz. That one, Rachel, started in a hurry.
It did, and it's brought Dennis Carisse into this fight right here behind him, of course, and this is going to make things really interesting for those two, because he will want to be a part of this one. He will want to upset the little party, and right now Benefield will be the first target on his list in P number 3, so he's going to have to move on, and if you can get past Thilo Zoltz, then he can actually have a good chance at running away. But as things stand, this 2-way battle's become a 3-way fight, and guess who's behind them? Nigel Marneef.
Yeah, as we got Morris Ridgmer with an incident. This is down in turn number 5. So the number 11 car has gone off down at turn 5. I'm wondering to see if there's any damage. I don't see any on the front end of that car. Potentially just another case of driver pushing a little bit too hard, too quickly. We'll get ourselves another look at that one. But Rachel, that fatigue's already kicking in as Tim Bertie from the race lead is on pit road.
He is indeed, and we're looking for a good stop here from Tim Bertie. Of course, you can really push the entry to the pits here at Road America, running up that hill. You can pretty much leave it late in one of these old Indy cars or the new car. You could be braking almost as you arrive at that crest and use the angle of the road to slow the car down. Pit limiter on, under speed limit, gets into his box nice and easily. Car's angled slightly to the out so he can get a fast exit. And Cruel Services car, 4 tyres, racing fuel, off the jacks in a moment, and away he goes.
11.9 seconds then from Bertie. That is what it takes to do a pit stop in a Dallara Indycar. He's got Tim Miller coming out right behind him, but Miller doesn't want to play the game, so he will just fall straight into line. As it does mean that for the first time we have a lead change, and it is Theo Zoltz who now officially is going to lead a lap at the line. Give you an update, Rachel. Robert Grosser, 10.9 second stop. 3 drivers have made pit stops. Well, I think pit road's going to become a very busy place soon. I expect Garice on pit road this time by. Although, if the 2 drivers ahead of him come towards pit road, Garice, I think will attempt to stay out another lap.
I think he will, and the gap, by the way, between Garice, Benefield and Thilo Zoltz and Marneef has closed down now to 6 seconds. He's a corner behind them. That car is catching very rapidly. In fact, he's about a second a lap faster than these 3 at this stage of the race. They're all running 39 flats. Marneef is running 49 flats. Nigel Marneef is running a second to half a second faster. So expect this gap to close up now as we head to the pit cycle. Marneef could be looking at running longer here.
Yeah, let's have a look then. Garice in that 3rd place. You can see that he's fallen back about a second. This might be a strategic maneuver here. Let's see if either of these 2 cars dart to the right hand side. No! In that case, Garice will stay out through another lap. But Garice is being held up big time, I think. And as you just said there, Nigel Marneef as they work themselves past the start-finish line. Let's have a look at what the lap times are. You'll see Marneef on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. For Theo Zoltz, it was a 1:38.3 lap last time by, a 1:48.2 for Benefield, 1:48.7 for Garice, and that time, Rachel, a 1:48.6 for Marneef. He was actually the slowest of the top 5. But until that point, he had got that gap down to 5.6 seconds.
Yes, he had indeed. It's getting incredibly close there between those guys, and just the pace here from Marnif is impressive. He's in P4 now, of course, as Tim Bertie has pitted, so what a climb. 18 to P4, he's up 14 spots, he's passed 3/4 of the field in this race so far, out of merit, so that's an incredible drive from Marnif. Well, that gap is closing to the current front 3, but what will he have on for the fresh tyres of Tim Bertie, who is currently out on track for his first lap? We'll get an indication of what his speed's going to be.
Our coverage today, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by And1 Design, official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV, as there is a wonderful look above the trees, actually just coming down past the trees, and this is, you can see the run down in towards Canada Corner. It's almost sheltered, that's how close it is, and this is a wonderful angle to show you as he tries to head himself down into that 90-degree right hand corner that is known simply as Canada. They always used to joke if you crashed there you'd pretty much end up in Canada. We are in the northern state of Wisconsin, getting ourselves close to half an hour of this race, and Paul Morris planning it out with Robert Grosser. Grosser goes wide, Rachel. That is not what you want to do if you're trying to go on the alternate strategy.
It isn't indeed, so he needs to keep a track of that car and stop it from making mistakes. He's lost a lot of time there to Benefield and Thilo Zilk. In fact, he's definitely opened up the road to Nigel Marnif, who is now really not that far behind him. Apparently now it's still scored of 6 seconds, but looking a lot closer. It's certainly within reach.
Yep, as you can see, Benefield in P2 was almost side by side through turn number 1. Benefield now 4 tenths of a second is the gap between P number 1 and P number 2. They roll it down the hill in towards turn number 5 again. Benefield will not be close enough. The lap times, they come out of pit road though, Rachel, for your former race leader Tim Bertie, well, it was much faster. It was 4 tenths of a second faster than anything anyone else has done in this race so far. Benefield was actually the second driver into the 147s all race long.
Yeah, he was, and that's incredibly fast running at the moment. Just amazingly high speeds from these guys, so having to keep an eye on things and make sure they aren't burning their stuff up too soon. As we saw those first 3 guys, they certainly have dropped off time-wise compared to some of the more veteran drivers.
Yeah, back on board with Robert Grosser. He's going to... No, don't go side by side for the King. Someone's going to have to give something. And Grosser... This isn't down into the King, thankfully, is it? It's down into turn number 5. Grosser's on the outside. He will brake later. He will move himself back up into P number 11. That is getting himself past Paul Morris. And I was worried for a moment there that was going to be down the King. That is the one place you never ever want to go side by side. And so you can see P1, P2, P3, and then just coming through the horizon now, there is Nigel Marnif in the 4th position. Gap between himself and the race leader is 7.2 seconds. Lucas Laville is in the 5th spot. Now they work themselves past start finish line. 1, 2, 3, all storming across, and here comes Benefield. He's looking for an opening to the outside in towards turn number 1. Daniel Benefield will move himself back to the race lead for a moment, but that was close there with him and Christian Theozult. Benefield now leads this motor race, Rachel.
He does, and a great move from him there, so returning himself to that position ahead of Thilo Zilch. Been a battle since the drop of the green flag, well, so now unfortunately I guess it's for the race lead, so see if we can hold this one for a whole lap and get some laps led into this one. But as it stands, it's really brought Garise back up to them and Marnif.
Yep, as the gap now from Garise to race leader is 1.4 seconds. I think that Garise is just kind of staying in line for the time being, and downforce levels can be a big thing at this racetrack, so it's something that we will have to keep an eye out on. See when these drivers do come on towards pit road for the first time. Try and get a bit more of an indication. We have 2 people out of the race so far. Leon Ruckender and Lucas Stiniano is out of the event. So 2 drivers out of the 18 who started this race are classified as out. Keeping an eye out though to see whether or not Benefield can pull away now, Rachel. He wasn't able to do so the first time he took that race lead, so what was then P2. He's now got one more opportunity, I think. Otherwise, he will really be in for a tough day.
Yeah, he will indeed. It's going to be a real challenge to try and make this one up. And you've just got to have a long-run mentality, Will. You've got to make sure you're thinking in a 1 hour, 40 minute, 2 hour sort of time frame. Because if you're not, then you can make mistakes with these cars, you can overuse them, and it's got to be a balance of need over speed.
30 minutes of this race already in the books, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back just 1 second, so I'm going to take you RaceSpotTV side by side as Marnif heads himself on towards pit road. So we'll stay with him just for a moment, Rachel, because I think we've got Marnif on pit road and Benjamin Nelson also in the pits.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, you know, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, you know, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. You know, it's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and you know, the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and you know, every year I've come here, being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race. So it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads. So when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Whilst we were away, change to the race lead again. Theo Zoltz back to the race lead. That makes it our 4th different lead change of the day. Got a couple of drivers coming out of pit road. You have yourself Christian Manson. You have yourself John Elmswater has made himself a 12.7 second start. Paul Morris is about to complete his service. He will be out and away in just 1 second's time. And then you've got yourself also Morris Rutimo there. You can see 10.2 seconds. Out and away he goes. So let's have a look as we've got 1, 2, 3 Rachel on towards pit road at the same time. Your top 3 drivers coming in together.
Yeah, they are indeed. Of course, I think it's more of a reaction from Benefield and Garisi to follow Thilo Zoltz into the pits there, of course. And we've seen Marnif has already pitted once, so he jumped before these guys. He'll make some fresh time on new tyres and probably come out ahead of these guys. So that'll be interesting to see if he can make up 6 seconds. He'll have to push hard. We'll need to watch him on the racetrack, Will.
Indeed, so let's have a look as they all come down into their pit boxes. Well, we'll get the time up on Benefield first, and there you can see. Are you expecting somewhere in the region of 10 to 12 second pit stops here? They're already almost at that one. It's the longest stop there for Benefield. It's going to be, they're going to come out as they came in, as simple as that. Let's have a look to see where Nigel Marnif is as they head themselves down. Well, he's not quite there. You see the other 3 drivers already disappeared into the sunset. It's interesting to note, Rachel, as well, that Grosser is ahead of Marnif for the time being. Although last time by, 2 tenths per second the advantage to Marnif as far as getting that gap down.
It is, but Marnif is not that far behind Grosser right now. It's about a second and a half. So those 2 cars very, very close. This could be, if they work together, Great drafting opportunity to close up to the cars in front.
Yeah, you've got three big opportunities to utilize the draft and slipstream around this racetrack. Of course, you've got the one down at turn number 1. Then you have the run down on the exit of 2, down on towards turn number 5, and then the fast run down towards Canada Corner. Getting ourselves there. Look, you can see car just going down a lap. That was Benjamin Nelson there, just being passed by both Grosser and Marneef as they come down in towards turn number 8 once again. And there you can see Nelson is currently classified as 1 lap behind your race leader. As underneath the speed footbridge they come, because sausage is what they do, apparently. So, back up front, 2 drivers separated by half a second. Rachel, the biggest loser that time by was Grease, but we now need to see, will he come back as what we've seen him do so many times in previous ISOWC competition?
Yeah, absolutely, and he can increase his performance in this one. It's been incredible so far. Just got to keep pushing. Got to keep really pushing hard, but again, manage that car, balance that speed, and balance the need you have for the race car. Keep it even, keep it on track. Don't wear the tyres down. A long race, you've got to still have something there at the end.
Well, there you can see that ongoing scrap down. We've got a freeway going on, Rachel. Tim Miller is in P number 8. P number 9 is Juan Cesar Stern. And then Alexander Dalladona, of course, we saw him stop on the racetrack earlier on. He's going again. He is in P number 10. One of the fastest guys on the racetrack. He's faster on paper than both Sturm and also Tim Miller.
It is indeed, and Tim Miller's another one from the ISWC we know very, very well. Very fast driver, of course, and right now being chased by Franz Joseph Sturm. Can he get up to the back of him? Will he be able to actually make a pass in this one? There's a big gap actually ahead of Miller. Lucas Leville up front in P7. That is, at this time, just over 20 seconds, so big gap now, and really 2 packs we have. We have that first 8, and we have the 9th backwards to 15th, the last car on the lead lap. Those cars over a minute and cars under a minute, so getting pretty interesting, though. Tim Miller actually has eaten into that 1 minute time lapse, so...
Yeah, he has. Of course, Miller came in towards pit road recently. Everyone now, Rachel, has made a pit stop in today's event, and what we learned 2 stops to the end is the way that most people will be going. I don't think there's anyone, maybe the exception of Grosser, who's going to be crazy enough to try and do 3 stops.
No, I think Grosser could be the wild card here. He could really throw something interesting in this one and try and make up track position, but as things stand, 40 minutes in the books already. We've got an hour left, so expecting 1 more stop from these guys and we go to the end. So it'll be a case of save some fuel in this middle stint, look after the tyres, run a more consistent, slightly slower pace. Now the cars are spread out. Come in for a shorter amount of fuel, fresh tyres at the end with last laps to run and blast some laps out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the fact that Tim Birdsey is a driver looking to get themselves a golden ticket for the ISN.com World Championship Grand Prix Series of 2016. Don't forget our coverage of the 2015 ISN.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will continue next Saturday as we head ourselves back home again to Indiana. We head ourselves to the Brickyard for another round of the championship. It is time that Coanda bounced back. They did it last time out with De Jong and Kroenke having an incredible battle that Kroenke came out in front of, but we've got many more chapters of the 2015 book to be written. The ISN.com World Championship Grand Prix Series lives on RaceSpotTV as Sturm, well, is battling out. Dalladone has worked himself past Sturm now, Rachel. It's going to be a case of see how quickly, Miller goes off. Well, it's that quickly that he gets past Tim Miller.
It is indeed, and of course, Tim Miller was holding him up, but perhaps not quite the tyres to hold on to that one. He will get passed by him as well, and Alessandro Dalladone is also up there as well now. In fact, I believe they both got past Tim Miller.
They did, as they come down in towards that first corner. There you can see Tim Miller at the bottom of your screen coming down into that first corner. Now just gets the back end of that car stepping out, and at that point it's always going to be a game over. Miller is falling back, not much. He's still inside the top 10. He's got himself a 3.4 second gap to John Elmswimmer, who runs himself in that 11th position on the track. Further up, Grosser and Marneef, that is now half a second. As let's ride ourselves on board then, Rachel, with Marneef. Well, difference in the old car and the new car and the Indycar, this car is very point and squirt, and you notice it at a racetrack like this.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a corner very slow, come into that corner very early on, get the car rotated and power out. So, a real challenge, a real difference to some of the other open wheelers in the series that you have to drive this one very, very differently. It's like, it's the odd edge of you make most of your lap time on the straightaways. So, unlike an F1 car where you can make it in the corner.
Exit of turn number 2. Let's stick it then along board, continuing with Marneef, and there you can see the gap between himself and Grosser up on your screen. And this is some onboard footage then of Nigel Marneef thinking about down to the inside, but we stay on board with him. 24.8 seconds. That is the gap right now between Tim Bertie, your race leader, and Daniel Benefield, who runs in second place. And it's worth noting one fact here, Rachel. Daniel Benefield is the only other driver, along with Theo Schultz, actually, he did it as well. So 3 drivers are broken into the 1 minute 47 barrier. And that means that their fastest lap is still 9/10 of a second slower than Tim Bertie's fastest lap of the race. And in fact, the fastest lap that Benefield and Theo Schultz did is 3/10 of a second slower than the current lap Tim Bertie's on.
Yeah, Tim Bertie's running incredible pace right now. It's just so fast compared to his other drivers. That car is handling perfectly. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fight for second position in this race overall. Well, it's not looking like anybody has anything for him.
Yeah, and as far as Tim Bertie, he is 30 years of age right now. And he has got himself a Pro Series license. So you will see him on the coverage here on RaceSpotTV coming this fall as we commence another journey for the golden tickets to the World Championship Series. He is a newcomer though to the Indycar, Rachel, and the one question as we get closer to the series, actually it's worth noting that Leon Rutner is also out of the race now, so add him to the list. But it's worth noting, Rachel, that we talked about the difference between this car and a Formula 1 car. Tim Bertie is a newcomer to the IndyCar. He's driving this car and being fast. He's got to be careful he doesn't get himself into too many bad habits.
Yeah, and it's certainly a car that can teach bad habits in comparison to the Formula 1 car, and they do drive very differently. Like we said, point and squirt in this car, you are cornering very slowly, slow at the apex, rolling that apex, and getting onto the power on the exit. Whereas the Formula 1 car, you are actually keeping power in the middle of the corner. You're almost transitioning from brake to power, so it's a very different cornering style, and getting fast in this car will not help you in the Formula 1 car.
Alexandre Daladone, his second incident of the day. This time it was a spin. We're getting ourselves a look at this one. Exit the corner. How many times have we seen this one, Rachel? Exit the hurry down. Someone getting too hard onto the power too early just before they come underneath the Speedville bridge. End up tearing up their race car. Daladone is out of the event just like that.
Yeah, unfortunate end to the race for him, as we've seen quite a number of drivers now having problems here, and I believe we've also lost Alessandro Daladone as well. That's a big loss for him in the middle pack, but that will bring our total to 4 cars so far.
Indeed, so Christian Villarsort running himself still in that 3rd place, still battling it out with Daniel Benefield. Battle for P number 2. This is one that literally has gone on since the lights went out and the green flag came out to start this event. Marneef still battling it out with Robert Grosser. The issue is, Rachel, because Marneef is sat behind Grosser, he's not able to then close up to the rear of Garis, who has fallen 4.3 seconds back from Theo Schultz. So actually now, Marneef has got himself the pace, but he hasn't really got himself the chance to go any further in this race. Maybe one, maybe two more places. Is that thing. Eventually, you end up hitting a brick wall because the drivers, they're not 2 seconds a lap slower than you. They're not even a second and a half. They're kind of around your pace. And that makes it very difficult to find a way of breezing it down to the inside. Although Grosser, looking as though he's taken a very defensive line into turn number 1.
Yeah, he's definitely not got the speed here to hold off Marneef, but I think maybe 2 or 3 places, potentially a podium tonight is possible for Nigel Marneef. But Tim Bertie, 25 seconds ahead of second place. Those two guys are next to each other on track, so that's only 10 seconds at the road for P2 for Nigel Marneef. They are fighting each other, so they could, in theory, slow each other down whether they did to race. So that's an issue there. Of course, Garise running on his own, as is Grosser. Both of them only 4 seconds from Marneef. More than achievable.
Indeed, our onboard coverage here today is brought to you by the iRacing Forum app for Android. It's down to the inside then. Will look Marneef, not just yet. On the exit of turn number 5, now down underneath the Corvette bridge to turn number 6. Yes, we have just had ourselves a brief intermittent moment with our broadcast overlay, which means we are stuck on board with Nigel Marneef for the next 10 seconds or so. But I tell you what, it's not that bad worth watching there, Rachel. He looked down to the inside at Grosser. Very good defending under braking. It looks like he's got a bit more downforce in that car, which means that he might not get the lap time, but he can defend if he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely, and Gross is going to have to defend like a pro from this guy, because Nigel Marneef is a very difficult car to keep at bay when he is running behind you in an Indy car. I know that one from personal experience. He's a very daunting shadow in that mirror, but you can take a fairly decent defensive line around someone like Road America. The corners are all fairly cookie cutter, should we say. They're mostly 90-degree corners, with the exception of 1 or 2. And that means defensive lines are very possible. It's not a lot of corners you can run too wide in with speed and get the run down the big, long straightaways. So you can actually run a defensive strategy. It'll back the pair of you up, but it will work. Nigel Marneef, though, he's falling back a little bit, so it's not as necessary using that run out the corner.
Yeah, second place is still Daniel Benefield. So basically your top 2 drivers, as it stands, are both going to be running in the 2015 Pro Series of Road Racing. Hopefully get some very good stuff going on with Benefield, of course. The commentator here on RaceSpotTV. Looking down at P number 3, though, we have got the driver of Christian Theo Sort. And again, Vortex Sim Racing driver, Rachel, finished 3rd in last year's ISOWC IndyCar Series. Finished 2nd in both the 2014 and the 2015 OMR series, which is crazy Australian series, won by a friend of mine now, so I can be nice to it again. So Theo Zorch, you know, he is a long-time fan of this IndyCar, and actually was the one who said, "Wait a minute, we still like this car. Let's run it once every so often."
Yeah, absolutely. And the IRO5 was a great car. It's kind of sad when we moved on to the DW12. Personally, I actually loved this car. It to me looked like an Indy car. It was an open wheeler with actual open wheels rather than the half sports car, half formula car that ran into each other apparently.
Yeah.
But it's the DW12 and this current generation of cars with the aero kits. With their closed rear wheels, of course, on oval tracks it's a safety issue. But you know what? I wouldn't be too particularly bothered if the oval side of IndyCar went away.
Indeed.
The road side is far better, and frankly the road cars looked a lot better, and the need for those silly side pods would be gone. And
wait.
this car is beautiful.
Have you just implied that an IndyCar series can survive without ovals?
Yes, absolutely.
But what about that one track which is located on the corner of 16th and Georgetown?
Well, every track but that one.
Okay.
But of course, Indianapolis doesn't need those silly little side pods because the real kind of pack running that was the necessity for those sort of things that we saw at Fontana is negated. You don't tend to get that pack racing at Indianapolis.
Indeed. I tell you what, we could basically spend the next 45 minutes
me
debating with Rachel the pros and cons of oval racing. What we'll do instead is we'll have a quick chat with a driver who unfortunately is out of the race a little bit too early. That driver is Alexandra Dalidone, and unfortunately for you, your race, well, you had yourself 2 incidents. You had yourself one where you stopped on the exit of Bill Mitchell Bend, then you had yourself one on the exit of the hurry down corner, smashing the wall, out of the race. Take us through it.
Yeah, absolutely, you are right, Will. And I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for that first accident. where I stopped competing in the middle of the road. But I had a technical problem with my PC. It completely froze for like 10 or 15 seconds. It never happened to me before, and I wanted to say sorry for all the drivers I put in danger, and they had problem with me stopping in the middle of the street, and I'm sorry. And the second one, it was completely my fault. I spun out the exit of the corner, and I put so much power, I think too much power, and the car completely spun out. Anyway, it was my first race with Indycar here in iRacing, so it's a bad experience like the first race, but in the end, I'm happy anyway.
Well, welcome to the IndyCar. Say many more races, hopefully, that you can enjoy along the way. Will we see you in 3 weeks' time, potentially at Sonoma?
Yeah, probably at Sonoma I will come back into the series, and also in other races in the end of the season. Look, I will do part-time schedule this year as a rookie year, we can say, and then probably next year we come back probably for the world season and try to be fast, consistent, and not make mistakes.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Alexandro Danadone, as we've got ourselves Grosser in for his second start. 47 minutes, 48 seconds remaining. I'm trying to do the math here, Rachel. That stint was somewhere in the region of 33 minutes long. So I think he's on a free stopper. He will have to do one more pit stop.
That's plausible. I could certainly explain the speed we're seeing, and it'd be an interesting tactical choice from this one. So, yeah, that could be extremely interesting for Tim Bertie. Could he have made a mistake here with strategy? Could this be a genius move? Or, well, this could open things up a hell of a lot for Daniel Benefield, Thilo Zilch, and Marnie Fingarese.
Yeah, I think that for Bertie, he's got just about enough speed. He was about 24, 25 seconds ahead before he came on towards pit road. I think he's actually just having a little bit of fun. Robert Grosser, I'm a little bit more worried about, because as it stands, he's going to be right there in the mix. And actually, here's the fun thing to watch. Now we've got ourselves your former race leader, Tim Bertie, going up against Nigel Marneef. Exit, final corner, run up the hill. This is for position. So Marneef doesn't need to even worry about having to get out the way, blocking or lap down cars, etc. ad nauseum. So this is now mano et mano in towards turn 1. Although realistically, Rachel, the lap times were seen by Bertie here today, the only driver into the 146s. It's going to be a case of when, not if.
Oh, certainly, definitely a case of when. I think the strategy here is going to be a major, major factor, and I don't think some of these guys perhaps will have the fueling they want or need. Some people going a little too long and going to make it a little bit difficult on the tyres, and well, this car's unforgiving. It definitely eats its tyres very, very quickly, so these guys have to be very careful. The surface here at Road America is incredibly abrasive.
It is. One thing that's worth noting there, Bertie didn't have the straight line speed advantage over Nigel Marneef down in towards turn number 5, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult than I potentially might have expected it to be. Now here's a look on board with Bertie once again. We can go back on board. We get that speed chart back up for you. Marneef running himself in P number 4. It's interesting to note, we'll talk about Benefield. He has pulled ahead of Theo Zilch. We'll come back to that in a moment. But we'll have a look at the speed chart here, and you can see that Bertie's better on to the gas. That will indicate that he's running a bit more downforce. Listen here. Pretty much flat for the King. But now, even with a draft, it looks as though, actually no, he will just about get the run down to the inside. That one was all caused, Rachel, by the fact that he was able to go flat out into the King.
Yeah, flat out to the King is a major achievement in this car. Even in the DW12, it's certainly a indication of a very fast lap when your car can hook it through there. But, well, looking back now towards Marneef and Fingarese, they are nose to tail.
That is a down in towards turn. So this is another replay we're getting on our screen here. This is Tim Bertie down in towards Canada corner. Simple, easy. Easy pass there by Bertie, moving himself up into P number 4. Just having a look down up through your pack again. We might as well talk about this one, Rachel. Benefield has now got himself a gap. This is the biggest gap between these two drivers all race long. Daniel Benefield, Apex Racing, Christian Theozult for Vortex Sim Racing. Two teams who are friendly rivals at the moment, but I think over the course of the next year or so, they're going to stay friendly rivals, but that rivalry is going to grow so much more intense, both with more drivers from Apex Racing and from Vortex Sim Racing running the Pro Series, running in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Also, both these teams representing in terms of the GT Endurance Series.
Yeah, they are, of course, and well, we saw, of course, incredible performance by Vortex's run at the 24 Hours of Spa, with that team bringing home the prototype and overall race win versus Apex, who are an incredibly strong team in both the endurance, in both GT, open wheelers categories. So these guys are two major factors in terms of teams and the sort of names we expect to see running alongside each other.
All I'm doing, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm giving Rachel Whiteford nightmares of what happened just 1 week ago. It was that thing, as soon as you finish with a 24-hour broadcast, you don't actually want to go back and listen to a word of it. And the music itself will haunt Rachel Whiteford to this day.
Yep.
And on that note, don't forget, if you did miss anything from the 2015 iRacing.com 24 Hours of Spa, don't forget, you can catch it on our YouTube page. The entire lot. See the ups and downs, the highs and lows. Friction Racing crashing out of the race. Vortex Sim Racing taking victory in a dominant fashion in your prototype division. And Commander Sim Sport sending a message in GT. All of that on our YouTube page. And Rachel, are you still alive? Yeah. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Manson in P number 11. Joseph Sturm in P number 10. Nice little scrap going on. Rear end of your field, Rachel. For P number 10 and 11, this is. Just a second separating these two drivers.
Yeah, very close towards the back end of the field there. It's often easy to ignore that side of the field because they're so far back and out of the big fights we see for the top of the race. But good run going on here and good close racing, which is what we love to see. And sometimes it doesn't matter if it's for the last place or it's first place. As long as you can fight hard another car, it's great.
Well, just having a look then. This is from the rear of Francis of Sturm. Nice little camera we've got. This is mounted just behind, just in front of the rear wheels. So you can actually see the suspension pieces moving. Exit of 2 down towards turn number 5. And it's interesting to note, Rachel, that the two scariest corners really involve some form of gradient as far as getting the car turned and not looping it around. Turn number 6 and Bill Mitchell Bend. Ironically, they're the only two corners really with any real elevation change in the entire lap. Most of it is kind of flat here.
It is, and turn 6 is a really tough corner. You're coming up there and you're slowing down across that elevation change, so you're braking as you come across that change, and that's nasty for the car. The back end wants to kick out on you and go around. Bill Mitchell Bend, it's not as bad because your braking is pretty much complete before you reach the crest, so the car handles a lot better. But this car, like the DW12, does not like elevation changes.
Sturm, still half a second there as the gap. We're waiting for a second round of pit stops to commence. Last time by, that was a 147.776 for this driver, Daniel Benefield, up in P number 2. Now, I'm just having a look down. Tim Bertie is only 11.2 seconds away from the race lead, Rachel. So, as far as he goes, the strategy is working fine. Robert Grosser is 51 seconds back and is lapping slower than Benefield right now. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Benefield won't win this race unless Bertie makes an issue. But Benefield, as it stands right now, is looking for a very solid P number 2, especially what he's done in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 laps of this race.
Oh, I don't know, Will, because I think this could be closer than we have imagined. Of course, we expect both sets of cars to have to pit again, so Benefield and Bertie. During Bertie's 3-stop cycle, he is behind some of these guys, so I don't think it's as clear-cut as we might have imagined.
I say we don't condone betting here on RaceSpotTV, so we shall not, unless you live in Vegas or are in Vegas this weekend. John Ellsworth there. Also, if you're Philadelphia Eagles fans, hashtag Tim Tebow. Yay! A shout out also to my good friend Liam Jenkins This car's going very slowly, actually. He's been on pit road for a while, Rachel. John Elmsweiler in the number 88 car, out and away. I'm not quite sure why you'd have a Steelers and an Eagles logo on your car at once, though, Rachel. I'm a little bit confused.
Maybe he's that car looping it now as he exits pit road, so obviously has some damage he tried to repair in that long pit stop.
Yeah.
Clearly not repairing it enough, as that car I expect will be retiring.
Yes,
but
so.
Steelers and other logos, perhaps he's hedging his bets and not quite sure who will finish where. So,
well, of course, the Steelers have their little yellow towel, which they cry. I'm not going to go there because I will get myself into trouble. But yeah, Eagles.
Let's just say he's going for the place rather than the win.
Yes, there we are. Tim Bertie in third place right now. Gap between himself and the race leader, 10.5 seconds. Bertie, last lap time, 1:47.344. 1 minute 48.114 last time by for Daniel Benefield. 40 minutes of this race to go. And let's talk about Vortex Sim Racing just a little bit here, Rachel, because we talked about how they won the IRON.com 24 hours of Spa. Now, we talk about IndyCar racing, and, you know, the official series, the race lengths are somewhere in the region of 50 to 70 minutes in most cases on both road and oval. Now, these guys, people like Dennis Grease, are used to running in 2-hour races throughout things like the ISWC IndyCar series. Then also running 4-hour oval epics. Of course, Greece has been right at the cutting edge of things as far as Indianapolis goes. And the Indy 500 is the biggest challenge you will have. So you look at some of these drivers, even though they're not necessarily at the very top end of their game in terms of points and the official series goes, they are still some of the strongest drivers out there when you get into this situation, because they have got that mental endurance that you don't often get in pickup racing.
Yeah, you don't, and it's a whole different mental approach to the racing. You've got to really focus your mind on what you're doing and take things in chunks. It's a lot easier to focus in a short race and just go for all out of speed, but the big problem with these longer races, especially the ovals, maintaining that concentration level for a long time, and more importantly, working your strategy backwards. A lot of drivers will go from the start of the race forwards. They'll say, okay, I can do 30 laps on a tank, and I'm going to do 100 laps. That's 2 stops, goes 90, then you've got another 10. Or you go 10 laps, you hit, then you have 2 more stops. That works the strategy backwards, and you learn to have that approach with the longer races because it's picking off time, it's running down the schedule. You know what you need to save, and you know what sort of position you're going to be in, and that's the sort of mentality this breeds for these guys who are used to these longer races. They have that from the finish mentality, and it keeps their car in one piece. It keeps them to a schedule, keeps the speed they need to run, not the perhaps speed they can run.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit more in just one moment. Just showing yourselves a replay. We caught it live. Christian Manson. We're just checking to see whether he hit anything. I don't think he did. That was close there. Exit of the final corner. Christian Manson. He did the whole thing. You so often see drivers getting 2 wheels onto the white line, spinning that car around. But he drifted and he just missed the tyre barrier there. Good heads-up driving by him. He keeps that car in one piece. Fresh set of boots. Change of underwear maybe, back out onto the racetrack, allows his teammate Dennis Screws to go past him, but Manson down in the 11th place for the time being as Nigel Moneve on towards pit road for what will be his final time in today's race. So the Magnus car on towards pit road first, the number 69 machine, going to get himself 4 more tyres, going to get himself topped up with virtual race fuel and get himself going towards the end of this race. Pit stop time for him then, well, 10 seconds, 11 seconds, it's a longer one, 11.6 seconds. Back out and away he goes, Rachel.
Yeah, he does. Good stop there for him. And well, we're going to start to see, of course, Benefield will probably have to come in the next lap by, of course. And Theo Zulch had the opportunity in P2 there to make that jump and break away from the strategy of coming in last time with Benefield. So he gets to have really fast laps now. See if he can make the undercut on that number 54 machine. But what can Benefield break out? This has to be a good lap from him.
Indeed so. So here we go. Benefield still leads away. He has got now a 4-second advantage over Christian Theozult. That one in itself is going to be important. Last lap time, 1:48.005. Theozult, a 1:48.797. Theozult's tyres have been shot to pieces. That means that Benefield, with clean air, isn't able to take advantage. In fact, Benefield at last time by, only one driver was faster than him. That was Tim Bertie. We knew that one to be true. Theo Zalt, I think, yeah, he's coming in. And Rachel, he kind of had to do. He shot those tyres to bits. He had to come in. He was losing too much time. He will be right there amongst Marnief once he comes out onto the track.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to make sure that one's kept into track, and he's gone past again. So this is certainly taking things up there with Benefield. Maybe he's running to different numbers here than we might have seen from Theo Zalt.
Yep, so Theo Zalt is, of course, let's not forget, P1, 2 and 3 at that time. They all came on towards pit road at the same time, that last time out. But Theo Zalt was the fastest off the jacks. We think potentially 2 laps may be the difference between Theo Zalt's fuel last time by and what we saw with Benefield. Out and away, 7.4 seconds and fast start for Theo Zalt. That means he will come out ahead of Lucas Laville, who's on pit road, and also Robert Grosser and Nigel Marnief. We have the incident going on right now. Just having a look as we've got ourselves Grosser and Marnief. 1.3 seconds separating those 2 drivers. Well, the issue there, Rachel, is that Marnief couldn't get himself past Grosser earlier on. Grosser came on towards pit road earlier than what we saw from Marnief, and then he comes out and he's still ahead. Now, we know that Grosser may well be on a free-stop strategy, but this is the worst case scenario now for Marnief, because he struggled to get past previously, he's going to struggle to get past again, and then the gap is just widening up just a little bit further up the racetrack.
It is, and he's got to push really hard to try and make something happen here. We know he's got speed, but has he got enough to really bring this one to Grosser? It's currently 1.3 seconds, and that gap's been pretty constant. Those two, we saw him fly up the way of the field into P7, but he's not really gone much further, as we believe Daniel Benefield is to pit road. He's, yeah, 2 on pit road at the same time. That is, I believe, Hunter and Benefield on the same moment. That could have been terrible.
That was almost terrible. We're going to get ourselves another look at that one. He literally had to go 4 wheels off of the racetrack there. Now,
I believe we've got a pit reporter, Cam Walsh, on the scene. Well,
yep. Cam, any news?
That entry into the pit lane there was a slower car of Paul Morris. He came right up on the rear end of him. Benefield had a very good entry into the pit lane. Now, he didn't touch the wall. We had a very close scare with that, though. There was actually a little bump of dirt before the wall. He hit that as he'll come into his pit lane. They'll get him up on the jacks. He'll have all 4 tires. He will be getting a new front wing. They did replace the front wing on that Indycar. He'll get his fuel, and he is off and away back out onto the track.
Yep. So there we can see he is working himself through turn number 2. Tim Bertie, though, is back to the race lead. Gap between himself and Dennis Grease is 5 seconds. Then Theo Zalt is actually now back ahead of Benefield. The reason for that one is because of a very fast pit stop by Christian Theo Zalt there. 7.4 seconds was his pit stop time, Rachel, compared to Benefield, and that translates into this 1 second advantage to Theo Zalt on the racetrack.
Does indeed, but Benefield has got the slightly fresher tyres by a lap or 2 here, so that could be an advantage later on in this race. But right now, Theo Zalt's tyres are already up to temperature, so he will have a major advantage in this one, as Benefield nearly killed himself entering pit road.
Yeah, Nigel Marnief still battling it out with Robert Grosser. Benefield still battling it out with Christian Theo Zalt. Getting ourselves down to half an hour left to go here at round number 6 of the classic IndyCar series on RaceSpotTV. We will step aside for just 1 moment. We will be back after this as we take you RaceSpotTV side by side. 3 weeks' time, the classic IndyCar series heads itself over to Sonoma. And for more information about the series, head over to the iRacing.com IndyCar forums. It's okay, they don't always bite. The next time we are on air here for the classic IndyCar series is in 6 weeks' time. That will be for round number 8 of the championship, and that will be from the Ile-Notre Dame circuit in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. One of the fabled racetracks of the world. It's actually one of the only times that we've been truly able to get a basically IndyCar versus F1 comparison. As we got just here, Nigel Wanley thinking about looking down to the inside of Robert Grosser. Down they come into the Cannon corner, and that will be a nice, quick, easy pass. Move Marnief up 1 position on the racetrack. Well, there's still 3 rounds of the championship to be broadcast by RaceSpotTV. Talked about round number 8 at Montreal. Also round number 10 on the 31st of October. Yes, it will be Halloween. It will be Halloween indeed at Laguna Seca. Mazda Raceway at Laguna Seca. And then the final round of the championship from Twin Ring Motegi. The track that ran every single season on the oval, except for the final time they ever ran there. Scott Dixon, the winner in 2011 of that race. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 27 minutes. 40 seconds to go. Will Vinton, Rachel Whiteford, and Cam Walsh. Hi, Cam.
Hey. Yes. Hello.
Do you want a bigger intro than that?
Well, no. I don't really need much of an intro.
Cameron Walsh, ladies and gentlemen.
Use the theme tune well.
Yeah, he does. Robert Grosser, right?
We need like a very over-the-top American, like the '80s with a guitar riff. I'm surprised Grosser wasn't able to really fight back after losing that position to Marnief, but I've noticed Marnief is letting it bounce off the rev limiter a little much through the turns, and perhaps rather than downshifting or upshifting, letting that roll through is possibly where he might be getting Grosser as they're coming out of the carousel. It looks like Marnief is going to be getting a much better exit as he's going to be actually pulling away, and he's going to be closing in on Dennis Garis.
Indeed. So of course we know that there's differing strategies going on here. The issue for Grosser is now, unless he has somehow put enough fuel in the car to get to the end, which we don't think is possible, well, Grosser is going to end up pretty much outside of your top 6. I expect him to come out in P number 7 when all is said and done. Now, Tim Bertie, we do think he's got to pit one more time. Last time by, he did a 147.7. The result, a 147.5. Daniel Benefield, a 147.7. They are all now kind of getting themselves to the same strategy on board with Daniel Benefield. And, well, Benefield, he's got to be careful not to push his tyres now, Rach, because we saw what happened with Theo Zult. I think Benefield, same thing might have happened to him, unless he's just playing it nice and calm for 20 minutes or so, and then he's going to go rampage mode on Theo Zult at the end of this race, knowing the fact that that number 22 car struggles just a little bit with his tyres.
Yeah, that's exactly the situation Will needs to be in right now. It's time to save a little bit of tyres, save a little bit of fuel, get that car into a good position to go for a flat-out charge towards the end of this one. And that will be the biggest benefit to him. We expect this to be his final stop made. We're looking at, I believe, 24 minutes left of the play clock, so yeah, save a bit, just relax, rest, fall back into a rhythm. Last 10-15 minutes, it's time to go for it.
It will be. As you see, Grosser, he's about within a second of Marnief right now, so he's just about outside of that dirty air. He'll just be getting a little bit of a tow down the straightaway. We're going to give you an update on retirees here today. We have had John Elmswaller out of the race, Maurice Ridgmer, Alessandro Delado, Benjamin Nelson, Leon Rudner, and Lucas Stanzano out of the race. Out of 18 who started, we have 7 drivers on the lead lap and a total of 12 drivers circulating still. So 33% attrition so far, Cam.
Yes, and whatever happened quite a ways ago. The only retirement that has happened in at least the last 10 laps was John Emsweiler, and it seems that everyone else, for the most part, is staying on track. So we got 12 good cars, and not a lot of space between them, though, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things as well. What we often see, Cam, is you'd get people out the race in the early going because they push too hard, they make mistakes, and then you get a lull. Now, we talked, Rachel and I talked about mental fatigue earlier on, and that mental fatigue will kick in the next 5 minutes or so. Because I think after you race, especially in this car, after you race for about 70-75 minutes, that is when that mental fatigue will kick in. I expect 2 more people to make an unforced error in this event.
Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, it is Road America, and Road America is, well, I want to say it's notorious, but it's both well loved and well respected for having the concrete barriers just so close to the road being quite narrow, and then there being a ton of grass. So that'd be very good. We'll have to see what they want to do.
Hello, Zoe. That was just Zoe in the background. We could hear the collar, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that was actually Leo. He is attacking a very dastardly and very dangerous paper towel roll. Yeah, which I've been trying to get away from him for a while, but he's enjoying it too much.
Oh, wow.
He actually just picked it up and carried it away. That's how big of a cat he is. That is a full paper towel roll walking away.
Bertie on pit road, Rachel. Bertie is on pit road. He hasn't got the gap, I think. And if he does, it's going to be very close. I think he'll lose the race lead here to Theo Zoltz. He's going to have to do this one on the racetrack.
Absolutely will. He will have to come onto his pit box now. He will take fuel and tyres for his final stop into his box. Bit of an angle there, although in our racing you need to stop it straight for the crew to service you faster. But get it down now. That was definitely a short stop there for fuel. Out of the way. This will be his final stop. Theo Zoltz is already past, so as is Benefield too, so definitely going to work here for Tim Bertie. We don't expect the 2 in front of him to have to stop, so he has to be on full attack mode now to get this win back.
7 seconds, 22 minutes. Well, the fastest lap of this race has been done by Tim Bertie, a 1:46.832. There are times when you're just going to have to go, to quote Marshall Lynch, into beast mode, Cam. This is one of those.
Well, yes, that it is, but we'll have to see just exactly what they want to do. They don't want to rip the tires up too early, but at the same time, you don't want anything left on the table, which is really kind of how that IndyCar, this IndyCar really goes. So they'll have to find that perfect balance, and we'll have to see what they want to do as far as pushing goes. But we're entering that last 20-some-odd minutes here, so you might say that mental fatigue might be kicking in, but that second wave might also be coming into play as well. That second rush of that second wind. That was the word I was thinking of.
Yeah. And Rachel, for Bertie, he's just got to carry on doing very fast laps, one after the other, and he can't put a foot wrong, because as Cam alluded to previously, if he does do that, well, he's going to hit one of these very, very ominous concrete balls.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to keep this one in one piece and bring it to the end, because there are many ways Road America can kill your race car, and it tries regularly.
Robert Grosser, 11.4. That's a very long pit stop for this late into the race, Cam. 11.4 seconds. I just want to make one other point as well. 21 minutes, I think, is okay to basically, you know, try and get to rip your tyres to shreds. For the viewers who watch a bit of IndyCar, the tyres here are a little bit like the Firestone Reds. So, you know, if you wear them out too quickly, they will fall to pieces. For Tim Bertie, we are looking to see what his next lap is going to be. It's going to be fast, we know. But I think with 20 minutes on the play clock, you can just go flat out. The issue will be if you do that, whether he's got enough grip to go some crazy way around either Benefield or Theo Zoltz to try and move himself ahead on the racetrack.
Yeah, this is going to be a real fight for position there between those two, and not entirely sure if Benefield has what it takes to catch Theo Zoltz, but he will have to try everything he has. But at the same time, that car of Tim Bertie, that 77 machine, bearing down from behind, so far from over yet.
Well, this lap, they are pretty much equal. They started the lap 7.3 seconds between Bertie and Christian Theo Zoltz. It is worth noting, Benefield has now fallen back to 3 seconds behind Theo Zoltz. That means that Bertie will catch Benefield soon, and I mean soon, within the next 3 to 4 laps maximum. Gap is still pretty much identical. Last time by 147.2 for Christian Theo Zoltz, 147.9 for Daniel Benefield, and well, we'll get an update on Tim Bertie's lap time. It will be, I think, a 146.9. Yeah, place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Start quoting me now. Here's Benefield as he's in P number 2. He has faded for the time being. A little bit of traffic to get past. That's his teammate, though, Christian Manson. Side by side for Christian Theo Zoltz to work himself past start finish line. Let's get a look at the lap times. 19 minutes to go. 147.681 there for Theo Zoltz. And then it's a 148.0 for Daniel Benefield, 147.1 there for Tim Bertie. Well, the lap didn't look that fast, Cam. But Bertie, once again, fastest on the racetrack by half a second. That gap is coming down.
Well, it is, and I hate to go to retro F1 driver quotes because I think everyone goes for that too much, but Alan Prost kind of said it best. The fastest laps he's ever done is when he's looked the slowest. You know, he's going in through the corners, taking them the right way, not being too aggressive on it, and he's coming out with the lowest lap times. And I mean, first of all, the top three drivers, I mean, they were all within each other. Heck, it was over the course of just 1 second splitting the lap times between the three drivers. So, Bertie, if he keeps this up, will catch Benefield in the next, probably 3 laps, if my American math is correct. But it's just a matter of what are they going to do. What's that?
Other math is available.
Yeah, other math is available. It's in the subtitles. If you look in the YouTube options, I'm sure it's there. Things like British math. And if he catches Benefield, well, then the question is, how long is that fight going to go? And if they fight too hard with each other, it's just going to give the win right over to Christian.
Yep. Just having a look then down in towards. This is Canada Corner Lake once again. And the gap has come down again by almost a full second. Right ourselves on board. You'll see in about 25 seconds time that gap, the lap time will come up on your screen. I said 1:46.9 last time by. I was out by 2 tenths of a second. This time, I'm pretty much sure I'm going to be right. 1:46.9 coming up now for Tim Bertie. Past the start finish line they come. And Theo Zult is onto pit road. Theo Zult is onto pit road. I was right with the lap time there, Cam. But Theo Zult is on to pit road.
Now that he's coming down very slow, 44 miles an hour in the Imperial. He'll come sliding into his pit stall here any second as he's just driving. He's entered the pit area just a little too soon, but he's walking down his car there. He'll come to a stop, actually a bad stop there. He actually got on the brakes. He had to let off as they'll come up. They'll be putting in the fuel here. It should be a very, very quick stop, and he's already revving up the tires. We'll get the counter, and it is a very slow stop. It was like 12.4 seconds. That's a very slow stop, especially for only 17 minutes to go. So something must have been going wrong there that Christian wanted to come into the pits and curry up the lead.
Rachel, we said that he did a 7-second stop the stop previous. I think that he didn't take enough fuel. You talk about counting backwards. He didn't count backwards. He was counting forwards, and he got his math wrong. Now, I
think he was counting sheep well because he completely dropped that pit stop.
He did. Completely ruined it. Now, Benefield did an 11.5 second stop. I think he is just about good to go to the end of this race. It is now a straight fight between Daniel Benefield and Tim Bertie, if my British math is correct. Just lost Rachel right foot. There we go. Then up the hill in towards Bill Mitchell Bend. This is Tim Bertie. Well, 1:46.9. He was that last lap a second faster than Daniel Benefield. Out the final corner they come. Only one driver has done a 1:46 this race. It is Tim Bertie. Past the start finish line. Will he do another one? The answer to that question is going to be yes, he does. Well, 2 laps there within pretty much 2/100ths of a second on a 4-mile racetrack, Cam. You remember that really bad Champ Car movie called Driven, where they did the whole thing with the tyres and the dimes in there or something, picking them up? Pretty much, that is how accurate Tim Bertie's being right now.
Well, that too. I also remember them driving brand new Indy cars down a city street and someone dodging a manhole cover. It was a terrible movie. Yes, Tim Bertie is absolutely on the blitz right now. I actually thought that my lap time didn't update. That's how close they were, both 1:46.9s. So Tim Bertie is reeling in Daniel Benefield. So we'll have to see what Benefield can put down in a response. He did a 1:48.3, which was about maybe 0.6 of a lap slower than the lap before then. So while Tim Bertie is right on the dime, as you would say, Benefield tracking off a little bit. We'll have to see how they push this lap, but ultimately, though, I think give it another lap, and Bertie will be able to put a lot of manual pressure on Benefield's car. That car will be in the mirrors.
Well, here you can see Benefield, 1.1 seconds it is now, and pressure, Rachel. Pressing down on me, pushing down on you, whatever. I think the pressure's kicking in for Benefield now. He's overdriving that race car, and I think the worry is he pushes those tyres too hard, within 2 laps, sort of overheated them, and Bertie will be past. Simple as that. Benefield's got to be fast, quick, but more importantly, consistent. Just hit your lines. That gap is now 8 tenths per second. Basically, he's got 7, 8 laps that he's got to be holding off Bertie for now. And it's going to be a challenge for him.
I don't think he can hold him off. I think he's going to have to really run defensive lines here and block the crap out of Bertie if he wants to stay ahead. Because on pace, Bertie is in a different zip code to the rest of these guys. He's just so fast, so consistent. Benefield's been out on this set of tyres longer, so it's not even going to be a straight fight when he gets to him.
Indeed, the gap is 8 tenths per second. Looking from the rear of Benefield. 13 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in this event. And, well, Cam, it might well be a case of catching is one thing, passing is another. We did note earlier on that Bertie didn't seem to have the straight line speed advantage of some of the other drivers. And, well, part of the reason for that is that you have such a big variance in what you can do at this racetrack as far as downforce goes. You can either lamp it on, which is going to be very useful for Bertie on this section of the racetrack, and then also through the kink, or you can go low downforce, makes you great in a fast line, makes you able to overtake, but then makes it very tough as you exit this corner and work yourself down towards Canada.
Well, this is one of the reasons I absolutely love open wheel racing. You can definitely have every single way, shape, and form of your setup times, or of your setups, and still get very competitive times. As Tim Bertie, I believe at that last corner there, he actually was about the same speed as Daniel Benefield. He's not going to be able to close up here, but under braking is where he is catching it, and I think that's very important. He might not have the top end speed, but certainly catching under braking, and under braking puts in a lot of pressure as that car gets very big in those mirrors. And hopefully Benefield's not looking in those mirrors. You wouldn't want that, as you got to keep your eyes on the road, and I think he's going to be trying that. We'll have to see as they come through the lap markers one more time here. It is a 148.2 to Tim Bertie's 147.9, so a little slower for Bertie, whereas Benefield is keeping his lap times consistent, but right now that gap is down to just half a second.
Right, it does seem to be that Benefield is faster in a straight line until that draft hits at the end of the straight. Just to show you that the weather here, 8 kilometers an hour is the drafting speed, and the gap is down to 3 tenths per second, down to 2 tenths per second. Clear skies, high humidity here, which does have an impact on the engines, Cam. The ability to basically take the air, chuck it through the engine, do all that sciencey stuff, which I'm still, there are some people that still calls it black magic, and then eventually pump out some horsepower.
Some horsepower, yes. But, yeah, these are naturally aspirated engines. I believe in the old Indy cars, where they switched over to V6 turbos, is you can just see the brake glow off of the front end of Benefield's car as he takes that corner. It looks like right now Tim Bertie, he hasn't necessarily closed up as much as he has in laps before, but I almost wonder if he's trying to figure out where he wants to set up. He's watching the tail of the car in front of him and finding out where that car is a little weak, where it's strong, and where he could open up the advantage here as they come down Canada corner. Right now, Tim Bertie's got probably about a 4 or 5 mile an hour advantage, but I just don't think he's close enough, as no, he's not. They'll hit Canada, they'll come out through for another lap, and ultimately, though, I think Bertie is just watching, and he's going to wait and probably make one big push and one big strike at a spot that Danny Benefield might not be expecting.
Well, Rachel, that goes back to something when I used to do more driver coaching. That I used to always say is that you see these drivers that will just try and make 10 attempts in the space of 2 laps, be there ducking it down to the inside every single corner, trying to out-race their opponent to make them into a mistake. Doesn't always work, and let's not forget, Benefield is a very strong driver in the Grand Prix Series. Into the Pro Series, we will probably see him in the fall, so that's not necessarily going to work. But what you can do...
Not really that well. Oh, go on, sorry.
What you can do, however, is every single driver has strengths and weaknesses. Every single car has strengths and weaknesses. If you can figure out what that is, and I used to teach people to do this on ovals quite a lot, you figure out where that weakness is, and you build your part around that corner. So you bring it all the way back to 4 or 5 braking zones beforehand, where you need to be, where you get the dirty air, and work it up to the point that you know where you need to be to make that pass at a given moment.
I kind of agree and kind of don't agree, Will. I think one of the easiest ways to make a pass is to not actually have to stay alongside the other car. If you're about a similar speed to the other car, maybe a tenth, maybe 2 tenths to them, and this is something that was impressive to me as a driver, What's the point in trying to pass them if you're that close in speed? They can only pass you back. If you're going to make a pass, do it when they can't get you back again. You allow them to just run behind them, allow them to run their tyres into the dirt. You're saving tyres because you're lifting a bit, you're just sitting in their draft, be it road or oval, you sit behind them. You let them burn up what they have, so when it comes to making the pass, do it in half the time spent alongside their car, and they have nothing to come back with when you are past them.
But
So
you look at the issue of Marnif, and Marnif has been sat behind Robert Grosser pretty much all day long. And he's now down in P number 4, 21 seconds behind the race leader as a consequence, when he could well have been up around Dennis Garis had he have pushed harder to try and get past Robert Grosser about an hour ago into this race.
I think it was more of a safety thing for Nigel Marney. If he's gained so much already, I think he was more intent with holding what he had than potentially throwing it away for something extra.
Cam, any thoughts?
Well, we're talking
who do you want to
about
anger the most?
who do I anger the most?
No, who do you want to anger the most in this argument?
I
can honestly tell you I'm
don't
not
have
too
an
bothered.
opinion on this one. Well, all I was going to say is in at least I'm of course lately I have been of a completely different discipline. I do a lot of tin top GT3 racing, and ultimately your cars are very balanced together, and when you make that pass, you got to do it in a corner that they're not expecting it, and they can't defend themselves. They're going to be right behind each other, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Anyways, it's just putting it in a place where they're not going to expect as they come upon lap traffic. Franz Joe Stum, who will get happily out of the way for Daniel Benefield's IndyCar, and Tim Bertie is going to be coming in, catching off, possibly in a bad spot, but ultimately Bertie, though, with a couple of big mistakes over the last lap there, a 148.8 for him, whereas Benefield is still right on in the 148 zeros and the 148 ones. So ultimately Benefield has stabilized his lap times, and Bertie is the one that's having some issues as his tires go off again. He came off in the carousel last lap. This time it's in the big turn there, and we'll have to see in Canada if he can come up with this lap car, but ultimately that lap car should be letting him by at some point, but you have to get up to him first, and Bertie seems to be having that issue.
Yeah, and the gap's now up to 1.4 seconds. Bertie looking as though he might have just overcooked those tyres a little bit. He's almost going to run into the rear there of Franz Josef Sturm. He will work himself past, as that is not full position. That is one car just passing another, putting him a lap down. In fact, Sturm is now one lap down to your race leader, so that was to put him a lap down in this event. 6 minutes to go, and there's your opposite issue, Rachel, is that Bertie sat behind. Catching is one thing, passing is another, yes, but actually, it can be difficult sometimes in dirty air, regardless, to keep your tyres going, because you try and think you're getting to the rhythm. You haven't got pressure monitors or anything. You can't tell how much you're wearing the tyres until it's probably too late sometimes.
Usually by the time you've realised your tyres feel like they're wearing, it's far too late anyway. The tyres are already gone, and you've got to really set out with, it's like fuel saving. You can't really decide when you're looking like you're low on fuel that you need to save fuel. You need to set out with it at the start of the stint on that approach. So, same with tyres. If you want to save the tyres, you have to do it from the start.
Yeah.
And by the time you know it's there, it's too late.
5.9 second stop there for Christian Manson, bringing that car out of pit road. What will be the final time for him here today? And you come down into things like paces because of that. You know, if you run a marathon, you will have paces. If you do a 10,000 kilometer, you will have paces. In the Tour de France Cam, you have paces. You don't get that in motorsport. So you've got to think it all by yourself. And this goes back to the point that Rachel made earlier. You count backward in racing. You don't count forward. 1 second, the gap between Benefield and Bertie. Realistically, with 3 laps to go.
Yes, and well, it looks like Bertie is able to catch Benefield, but I think once he gets behind that car, just that little bit of dirty air, it just washes anything off of those very large and flat noses on these Indy cars, and I think some of that front end grip just goes away, puts a lot more load on the tires, and I think he might be, I'm not trying to say I'm smart in an engineering perspective, but I think his front tires might be getting a little warm because they have to be doing a lot more work sticking behind that IndyCar Daniel Benefield.
Yeah, and there was once a sim racing team actually in this car who would be very, very good running in clean air. then whenever they were in traffic, they struggled quite a bit, Rachel. I think that is the issue that we're having right now. As Frank Joseph Stern, by the way, is onto pit road. Splash and dash for him out and away in 7.4 seconds. But I think that potentially could well be the issue, Rachel. That car is set up to run in clean air, not to run in traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. And we remember one of those teams that typically runs in the Indy 500 for ICWC. That's particularly good in clean air and terrible beyond 5 laps or dirty air. But I digress slightly as we get into the final couple of laps here, and it is really one of those things. You can have a car that can run well in dirty air or in clean air. You see it in Formula 1, you see it in Indycar. It is a trade-off you have to make as a team. Are you going to qualify at the front and going to be able to command this race? Oh, go for a car that runs well in clean air. Do you have to fight through traffic? You need a car that works in dirty air. So it's a trade-off, it's a compromise between the two. And you've got to find a way of having the right car for the right situation.
Well, that was as close as he's been, 3 tenths per second. But look at that gap. Look at that timer. Exit of Canada through Beale Mitchell Bend. There will be 2 laps to go as they work themselves past the start-finish line. I'm doing mental math in my head. There will be 2 laps to go of this event. Up the hill they come then. 2-lap warning. Here we come. Is Tim Bertie going to be close enough as we come down into the final 8 miles of racing here? He's close. This is as close as he's ever been. He's going to work himself down to the inside in towards turn 1. No, he can't, Cam.
No, he doesn't decide to go with the maneuver. He actually backed out before the braking zone, which to me is the right thing to do. Benefield had the right to that corner, and he was not going to yield that inside line. So Bertie saw that and went, okay, we'll get him next time. So he's very close, and he's trying to, I think maybe those tires have recovered a little bit. He's paced a couple of laps. He had an issue with that lap car, and now he is going to be on full attack now as he looks to the inside of this whole hairpin complex. I believe this is turn 5, but ultimately...
Guys! Manif's
Yes.
off.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
heavens.
on pit road, actually. He's on pit road as we speak. So he's brought that number 69 car on towards pit road. Let's have a look. Is this a scheduled stop for him? Well, it shouldn't be scheduled. Just later on. 5 seconds, splash and dash, out and away he goes.
Didn't have the
to
fuel.
go back to your battle out front, though. Bertie, back on board with him. This is the chance. 2 minutes on the play clock. We know if it's going to happen, it will likely happen here. Bertie has been strong on this
Gets a
corner.
better exit too.
Through the kink, he's going to be flat out, and you can see he gains enough. This will put him alongside Benefield, going to make him go the long way, down in towards Canada corner. Tim Bertie for the race lead to the outside. Will he be able to hold that car in Canada? The answer is going to be no,
Oh,
he
guys,
can't.
Manif crashed. Nigel Manif has crashed.
Well, we'll come back to that one in a moment's time. Marneef is out of the event, but Benefield, Bertie, 1 more lap to go of this event. We'll have a look, see what happened to Marneef after this one, because Cam, get the showstopper ready. Bertie had 1 go. Well, he's got 1 more, and he has to try and do it at Canada.
Yes, 1 more bullet in the gun. Now, ultimately, though, we found out, though, he is not going to be able to get around on the outside. Benefield is too good on his inside lines, and he takes up the entire track, which is his right. He is the leader of this race. He wants to win this thing, too, as it will be 55 laps. Bertie closing right up under braking, as they will go down the very long straight under the Progresso bridge there, and they're going to come into this hairpin again. Now, Bertie had a look on the inside here. Will he be able to do it again? And if not, he'll have to set him up to the Corvette bridge.
Well, here they come. Turn 5 for the final time. Bertie going to brake like just try and upset Benefield a little bit. Nothing is going to work at that stage, though. Benefield has driven superbly in this final stint. He was able to take the race lead away. Bertie on a 3-stop strategy. Benefield on a 2-stopper. Theo Swords, he had to make a 3rd stop. Benefield, well, he's just got to make sure he's got enough fuel to last him this final half a lap. Underneath the Speedfield Bridge for the final time. Play clock will expire any moment now. But let's have a look then on board with Bertie. Can he get the run? He's further back than what he was previously, but he might try and do a lunge down to Canada corner. The white flag is out. This is the last lap of this motor race. 100 minutes of racing is scored complete. Bertie, will he try and lunge it down to the inside? The answer is going to be to the outside. He clips him. Off goes Bertie. Off he goes. Final corner. That means it'll be Benefield then. Daniel Benefield on the final lap there. We've seen so many last lap crashes on RaceSpot recently. We've seen another. Daniel Benefield up the hill will win round number 6 of the classic IndyCar series. Benefield is your winner in what was potentially a controversial finish once again. Bertie has got that car back going. He will finish in second place out the final corner. That number 77 car will come. He drives it up the hill. You can see the damage to the front end of that race car. Candor corner has bit once again the narrowest part of the racetrack, and Tim Bertie second. Dennis Garis will round out your podium, but we need to get ourselves another look at that one, because that is one that will be talked about after this race. We saw it on board then with Tim Bertie a moment ago, but that was a crazy crash. We want to slow it down for you right here, and it did seem to be that actually I think that Bertie went for a gap that didn't really exist there, Cam.
Yes, as we bring more Formula 1. You know what? Benefield really covered the middle of the road very well. He did not jump out to the left at all. Well, driver left. So it just looks like Bertie decided to really try and pressure Benefield to get a bad exit, and ultimately he tried way too late in the corner for Canada, I'd have to say. I mean, they were already halfway through the braking, and either Bertie reaction broke to what Benefield was braking to, or he just didn't expect the Benefield car to whoa up that quick, and ultimately I was part evasion, part hey, let's try it, and he ended up putting himself in the sand. He actually went all the way back to the box and had to back it up there, but good thing that he at least finished in second. But ultimately, though, Benefield, I didn't really think there was much he did other than just drove the middle line.
Yeah, we're just getting ourselves another super slow-mo replay on board of him, and let's just have a look, because you notice that Benefield, at this point, he doesn't actually turn at all. So Bertie's going to move that car to the left-hand side. I think he thinks he has a lane, just the slightest bit of contact there with Daniel Benefield. And, well, he pushes it off into the grass, out of the race. The good thing is, of course, is that he didn't actually lose anything overall. He does still finish this race in second. But to go back a little bit further, we'll try and get yourselves a replay of what happened to the driver of Nigel Marneef. This was a couple of minutes before this, so we're going to get ourselves a look and figure out what happened to Nigel Marneef as he came onto pit road. He had a crash. You can see the front end of that car was already banged up, but Rachel, crazy, wild finish to this event, and I did say I would have one or two people having unforced errors before this race was over.
Yeah, more than one unforced error on this track, and well, we saw two there at the end, and it was major implications in these points. So it's been wow, that was just crazy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we're looking at what happened to Nigel Marneef on board, let's run yourself then through the final race results here from round number 6 of the Classic IndyCar Series on RaceSpotTV. Daniel Benefield claims victory from Tim Bertie. The gap at the line, 18.6 seconds. We know that not to be true because, well, for most of the race, that battle was intense the final couple of laps. Dennis Garis coming home third. So you had yourself Apex from Vortex, Christian Diozult in third, and then Robert Grosser rounding out your top 5. Lucas Laville in P number 6, Franz Josef Sturm in 7th, Christian Mansoon in 8th, Paul Morris in 9th, and then Nigel Marneef 2 laps down, rounding out your top 10. Heading on back just a little bit, you can see P number 11, Eric Hunter, 2 laps down. Tim Miller, crash at the end of the race for him. He comes home in P number 12. John Elmswaller there in 13th. Morris Richmer in 14th. Alexandra Dadadone in 15th. Benjamin Nelson out. Leon Rujner out. And Lucas Stinzano out of the event. Well, here is a look then at what happened to Robert Grosser in the final laps of this, not Robert Grosser, sorry, to Nigel Marneef in the final laps of this event. We talk about the mental fatigue. There was a mental fatigue there from Nigel Marneef after the frustration, really, having to make himself an additional pit stop. Marneef even, he ends up looping the car around at turn number 2, and he, as a consequence, finished in P number 11. Your winner here today, though, Daniel Benefield. We shall talk to him after this message. You are watching RaceSpotTV. Well, Australia may not have won the Ashes, but Daniel Benefield is the winner of round number 6 of the Classic IndyCar Series here on RaceSpotTV as we welcome you to our post-race show. Mr. Daniel Benefield, congratulations on what was a crazy victory. It literally went down to the final lap, to the final couple of corners, and we saw that, particularly the lap previously, Tim Bertie had a look down to the outside of Canada corner. Then on the final lap, you plant your car right in the centre of the racetrack to make him either go left or right. It almost ended in tears.
It was close. I mean, we both got a 4X for it, so it was close, but thankfully for once netcode actually worked on my side. And yeah, it was unfortunate for Tim. It would have been good to continue it up the hill to the finish line, because it would have been absolutely freaking close. But that was awesome. That was an awesome race in general, the whole race.
Do you think that, and if you two had come out of Canada corner, Houston and first, do you think you would have had the race won anyway? Because of course, Bill Mitchell Bend, you don't pass at Bill Mitchell Bend. Then turn number 14, you really don't have the chance to outbrake someone. So, do you think it would have been a drag race up the line?
I think it would have been, but obviously coming out of Canada corner, I would have more than likely had the track position. So yeah, it would have been more to see if Tim was close enough with the slipstream to slingshot past up to the line. Which, I mean, in a Skippy, yeah, it's possible, but in these cars, not so much.
Well, take us through the rest of your race, because you're on a two-stop strategy. As we thought Christian Theo's ult was going to be, you pulled away from Christian in that middle stint, while still losing time to Bertie. But then Christian came out of the pits ahead of you. At that point, do you think, wait a minute, what's happened? Or were you aware of the fact that he must have short pitted along the way?
Well, it was really confusing, because when I was pulling away, because I knew I only need the fuel save in that first stint to get to the end of the race. So I thought when I was pulling away, he was saving, thinking it was going to be a 56 lap race come the end, or instead of a 55. But then when I saw that he pitted a lap before me, because I was tight at the end. I mean, I only made it across the line with, I think it was 1.5 liters of fuel left. So when I saw him pit before I did and then come out in front of me, partly because I got traffic coming into the pits on my second stop, so I thought it might have been partly that, but then as he drove away from me, I saw that he might have switched to a 3-stop halfway through.
Talk us through that pit stop if you'd like. Did you need a change of underwear after that?
Yeah, a bit, I'll admit it. I knew that, I think it was Paul from memory, I can't remember exactly, was going to brake earlier than what I would, so I was trying to find a gap between the wall and him where I wouldn't hit either and damage the car, and I was like, and trying to lose as little time, because I knew I was going to need as much time as possible to Tim to hold on for the race at the end. But yeah, it was a bit sketchy, I guess.
Sketchy, you made it work, you claimed victory. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
All the Apex guys. I know Alex and Peter, I'm not sure if Scott was, but Alex and Peter were watching it and putting me under a bit of pressure. I knew they were watching it. My heartbeat on that last lap was at probably 2 million beats per minute. All the sponsors of the Apex Racing and Apex Racing Academy, so Simputers, Leo Bodner, Sim Steering, GT Omega Racing, and I'm missing Precision Engineering.
Yeah, don't mess up the sponsors. But overall,
yeah, I almost did.
Yeah, great race. Daniel Benefield, your race winner here today. Rachel Whiteford is stood by with Mr. Robert Grosser. He came home in P number 5.
Indeed, we'll hear with Robert Grosser. And Robert, incredible fight you had pretty much all race long with the car of Nigel Marneef. Of course, you bring it home today in P number 5. Great finish for you, top 5?
Yeah, absolutely. More than I expected during the race, because I was quite sure that Nigel would maybe make it with only 2 stops. Same goes for Lucas. So I thought, well, only P7, okay. But then, yeah, on the final laps, I had a lot of luck, I think. I don't really know what happened to Nigel. He pitted. I don't know the reason. Lucas was obvious, he was short on fuel. So yeah, very lucky P5. I'm really happy about it.
Are you looking forward to the upcoming rounds and what you can expect to bring to these final rounds in the championship?
Well, I hope that I can finish overall in the top 3 maybe. But yeah, mainly because of consistency, because to be honest, guys like Christian, Tim, Daniel, congratulations for the win, by the way. I never can beat them, so it's only maybe consistency.
Well, consistency wins championships, of course, and Robert Grosser comes home today, Will, with a very consistent P5.
He does indeed. Just one place behind him was Lucas Laville, and Lucas is stood by with the one and only Mr. Cameron Walsh.
Yes, Lucas Laville, not a bad race at all. I mean, a little back in a ways, but ultimately, though, you got through the entire race. It is a long, possibly one of the longest open-wheel races that we see here, the Classic IndyCar Series, but, you know, you survived Road America, not bad.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't expecting such a good finish. For the first 10 laps, I was under pressure by Alessandro, who had a problem like around lap 10, if I remember correctly. And then it was a peaceful race to the finish, so exactly the hardest race of my life, but still a good race. Congrats to Daniel, by the way. And yeah, at the end I was expecting to make it on 2 stops only, since I was running alone for 2.5 stints. But I came up short by something like half a liter or something, and the white flag came out when I entered pit road, so it was a little bit disappointed, but yeah, still a good result for me.
Well, yeah, not bad. Now, Road America is a very difficult circuit, and just well, driving these older Indy cars around Road America is definitely no easy task. So you may say it was an easy drive, but still, finishing the race where a lot of people didn't, very good. Now, anyone else, Lucas, you'd like to shout out to or say thanks to or something?
To Robert for putting this about, and yeah, and thanks to you 3 guys for putting this broadcast. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, of course, and we're always happy to do it. Always happy to show good racing here, the Classic IndyCar Series. So, we'll shove it over back to you.
Indeed so, and then rounding out your top 10 today was Eric Hunter. And Eric, you had a bit of a tough race, so you had to make 4 pit stops in the end. Take us through your race.
Well, at the beginning I was having an issue with my clutch, so couldn't get off the start too well, and I was having steering issues all race. My wheel was just not cooperating with me, and I miscalculated a bit on the fuel there. I had to make an extra stop.
Well, it's been a tough race, Road American. It seemed fuel saving had been the order of the day. To fuel save around this racetrack.
Well, it wasn't so much fuel saving, just didn't put enough fuel in my last pit stop, so I came up a gallon short.
Well, 1 gallon short, an additional pit stop required. We had, well, the series heads in 3 weeks' time over to Sonoma. How do you think you'll fare at that event in 3 weeks' time?
I'm not sure. I hope I can make it out. Don't know if I'll have the time, but might be another struggle like this one.
Eric Hunter coming home in P. And finally, we'll get ourselves a quick word. Tim Bertie, take us through that last lap moment. Tim Bertie, are you there? Hello.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can I say? Was net code. Yeah, it's unlucky for me. A bit frustrating, but yeah, things like that happen. I want to congratulate. I think he's here too. He really did a great job there in the end of the race. Basically, I thought he would be the one to make a mistake, but it was the other way around. So, a great race by him. Congrats for the win.
The final couple of laps, you were able to close up to Daniel Benefield, but struggled to get past him, and then you actually fell back by about a second as you worked yourself through traffic. Just how hard was it for you to try and make a pass over Daniel, and how much was it affecting your ability to keep grip on those tyres?
In the very end, yeah, it was hard because if it would have been easy, I would have passed him. But yeah, I was miscalculating a bit my fuel. So when I first closed up on him, I thought I would have the fuel safe to make it to the full distance. But in the end, yeah, wrong. So in the beginning, I was just trying to stay behind him and save some fuel. And yeah, I was sure I can catch him anytime I want, but I was wrong, and so yeah, a little bit frustrating, but still happy for second place, and yeah, it happens. It's a good result for me.
And Bertie, P number 2 here today. Rachel, final thoughts? No final thoughts from Rachel. Cam, any final thoughts?
There were final thoughts, but my microphone was muted, so may I?
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Intense racing from a classic IRO5 car. These guys, and amazing pace from the likes of Tim Bertie, Daniel Benefield, and Dennis Carrizo, Christian Tiliozuc, Robert Grosser, Lucas Leville. Incredible running, and wow, what a race. These guys made this car look great, especially on the eve of the confirmation we do have Road America returning to the Verizon IndyCar Series, 26th of June next year. Well, provisional, but still, Road America is back, and these guys will be back next time.
Indeed. Cam?
Well, I only got to see the last 40 minutes of it, but I can tell, even though I missed a part of the race, this back half of it was certainly exciting, which can only mean that the first section was just as exciting in order to get there. It was good, hard racing from when we on a very tough course, and a very good car, a very fast car. And I've forgotten how quick these things are. Some great strategy involved, and ultimately a good full-length open-wheel race. And I can never complain when we have something like that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next time the series takes place will be in 3 weeks' time at Sonoma Raceway for round number 7 of the championship. As previously mentioned, we still have 3 more broadcasts of the Classic IndyCar Series to go. The next one of those will be in 6 weeks' time as drivers head themselves to the track located in Notre Dame in Montreal, Quebec. That will be round number 8 of the championship, and then we're also with you for the final 2 rounds of the season at Laguna Seca and also at Twin Ring Motegi. Those races will be on the 31st of October and the 21st of November, respectively. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good day's, good afternoon's worth of racing here on RaceSpotTV. Don't forget, next week, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series returns to RaceSpotTV. It heads itself to the greatest race in the world. It heads itself back home to Indiana, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Our coverage, as always, will start at 1:30 p.m. GMT. All the qualifying, all the race, live on the official home of the iRacing.com World Championship Series. In the interim, for more information about RaceSpotTV, head over to RaceSpot.tv, like us on Facebook, and also subscribe to us on YouTube. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the Classic IndyCar Series from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, where Daniel Benefield, Apex Racing UK, comes home with a victory. Myself, Will Vincent, from Cameron Walsh and Rachel Whiteford, we shall talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.